Well, this has to be one of the more bizarre drives you can do. We're just north of Kiev in Ukraine, and we're heading for a place which in April 1986 suddenly became globally renowned. That place is Chernobyl. All around Chernobyl there is a 30-kilometre exclusion zone. We've just come through the outer perimeter, heavily guarded, still a quarter of a century after the nuclear leak here. In our vehicle, which is one of the few private vehicles to ever be allowed in here, we've turned the recirculation on so that we're only breathing the air that's inside the car. Although we will be getting out later, every precaution you can possibly take, we have taken. We put extra suits on the outside so that anything we brush against, anything that might possibly be contaminated, can just be taken off and removed afterwards. A quarter of a century after Chernobyl blew, this place is still a ticking time bomb. We're entering Chernobyl as part of an official tour. Our government guide is in the car ahead. The first stop, the scene of the accident, the reactor. I have to admit I'm nervous about coming in. Tests are done daily and levels are deemed safe, but a lingering doubt remains. Radiation is, of course, invisible.
About 200 tons of fuel are still inside. And one of the basic tasks nowadays is to control their behavior and their condition. The risks of the destroyed reactor are still here, but nowadays we can manage the risks.
Cased in concrete, seeing the reactor turns me cold. There are plans to cover it in a new modern case, but for now, a hastily built, aging sarcophagus is all that shrouds Chernobyl. Very few people get to bring their own vehicle in here. We're in a brand new Land Rover Discovery. Can you imagine 25, 30 years ago, the kind of cars that would have driven around here were things like Ladas, Moskviches, cars that were typical of the end of the Soviet era. This is the rather eerie, deserted town of Pripyat. It's the closest population to Chernobyl. And when the accident happened, many of the people that lived here, who also worked at the reactor, were the first to dive in and try and do what they could.
Я подходил до самого реактора, я выходил на мост.
The closest place that I approached to the fourth reactor was the bridge to Pripyat city, the bridge that crosses the railroad.
Там было 15 рентген на мосту.
The level of radioactivity at that very place was already very dangerous because of radioactive dust that fell down.
Были очень грязные, там 250 тысяч, 250 это самое.
And a lot of my friends, also former liquidators, they died.
Да, частью, что счастливчики нет.
In our group there were 20 guys and only 6 they are still alive. They are still working here inside of the exclusion zone. And my health is a little bit damaged.
20 человек мы тогда, помню, на блоке работали, у нас уже осталось 6 человек всего.
I wish to be alive for the moment of the marriage of my daughter. I wish to live a little bit more.
You know, it's not the site of the nuclear reactor at Chernobyl and the sarcophagus that encases it now. It's the human element of this place, what's left behind. This is the kindergarten. And this is the car that child left in 1986.